Hiring? Look, every business needs great people and a better way to find them. Something better than posting your job online and just praying for the right people to see it. ZipRecruiter knew there was a smarter way, so they built a platform that finds the right job candidates for you. ZipRecruiter learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job. These invitations have revolutionized how you find your next hire. In fact, 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. And ZipRecruiter does not stop there. They even spotlight the strongest applications you receive, so you never miss a great match. The right candidates are out there. ZipRecruiter is how you find them. Businesses of all sizes can trust ZipRecruiter for their hiring needs. Right now, my listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Wingo. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Wingo. ZipRecruiter.com/Wingo. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
EAGLES, Eagles! Great to have you with us here on Golic and Wingo. That's how we start a show, baby, with the Super Bowl champions. I'm Adnan Virk. Great to be in for Trade today, alongside Golic and Mike Golic Jr. Well, the first time I met Mike Jr., I said, tell me you're an Eagles fan. You said, of course. My dad played for the team, those early 90s teams, which is when I became a fan. And first and foremost, Mike, I say congratulations to you because I heard you listing during the Eagles parade. Of course, I was watching. You're on with Kevin Nagandi and Sal Paolantonio, and you said, as great as it is, I do feel a little remiss. We had those great defenses in the early 90s. I feel like we missed out on one. But I honestly felt like, in nearly 30 years of being an Eagles fan, watching that game, soaking all this up, this is a win for all of us. I know that doesn't sound sentimental.
No,
this is a win for all of us.
Without a doubt, because I've gotten to know a few of those guys, and I love their attitude and their personalities. Right. I do think that there's some similarities to the teams that we played with. I played on in the late 80s and early 90s. So I listen, I agree. And then you throw in, I'm not a fate guy, but I talked about this during Super Bowl week, that Super Bowl Sunday was Jerome Brown's birthday. Yes. And he would have been 52 years old, and it was Super Bowl 52. Really kind of got me giving the chills type of thing. Mm-hmm. But no, I'm so happy for them. Certainly a little jealous, no doubt about it. Not going to lie. I mean, we thought we had some teams that could have won it back then, but we didn't. We couldn't close the deal. I heard my former teammate Seth Joyner saying the same thing. Because people always ask us about our great defenses and why I don't list them as some of the one-year greats of all time. I said, we didn't close the deal. Right. I said, as much as I would like to, we didn't close the deal like the 85 Bears, like the 2000 Ravens, Tampa Bay. I said, we didn't do it. So as much as I think our defenses were as good as those defenses, we didn't close the deal.
It's amazing when you think about sports and memories, because Mike Jr., like those early 90s teams, like or late 80s, your dad was on, like I'm like 10, 11, 12. When I think about it, I felt like they never gave up a touchdown. Like it was always like Jerome Brown, Clyde Simmons, Reggie White, Seth Joyner, Eric Allen. And then offensively, I'm like, we had Cunningham, we had Keith Byers, we had all these guys, Freddie Barnett. But to Mike's point, it was like they felt so loaded. Then I look back and I'm like, wait, we never went to an NFC Championship game. We never went to a Super Bowl. This team was stacked.
It really is amazing when you contrast it with the Eagles teams that I grew up watching. The Donovan McNabb and Brian Dawkins led squads that under Andy Reid went to 4 straight NFC championships and that Super Bowl that did not go so well against the Patriots. It goes in such contrast because I grew up hearing him talk so glowingly about those guys and hearing the folklore almost built around those teams, and not only the players and how great they were, but the colorful personalities that made up especially the defense of that time. And so I think that's, I know you talked about getting to know some of the guys in the current Eagles team, but talking to Bo Allen and Chris Long and some of those times and hearing sort of the appreciation that they have for the history of that city, the guys that were a part of those teams that didn't get there because of how much this town in general had been starving for a championship, to understand where you fit in the grand scheme of that's pretty endearing for this current team.
Yeah, it really is. And a lot of those guys came up, what was it, was it Friday? I've lost track. Friday.
Yeah, Friday was,
Cliff, our board op. Cliff went to the parade.
He was at the parade.
Cliff was at the parade. You missed all the guys that were here Friday because you were hungover. How are you feeling?
I don't drink, so I wasn't hungover.
Wow. All right, don't put that on, Cliff.
Right, okay.
But just a little high on high C, maybe, or something.
I think you're completely lying, but that's okay.
He doesn't drink, but he does embark in pharmaceuticals. But
that was the greatest party in Philadelphia history by far. And I don't think, even if the Eagles won next year, I don't think that could be replicated.
How is the one guy who, you didn't hear this, Adnan, one guy couldn't get off of work, so he broke his own fingers to get a doctor's note. How's he doing?
I don't know that individual. What happened was we were just talking about, hey, what would you do in order to go to this parade, right? And one of my friends just randomly said, hey, my friend literally broke his fingers to go to the parade. And I'm thinking to myself, what? You got to say this on air.
That's crazy. Yeah, that is some crazy stuff.
It's just absurd. Just lied. I got the flu. Like, how hard is that? I'm not going to break my hand.
I'm going to break his own finger. So
I guess there's integrity.
I would say I enjoy his dedication to the truth. He knew that there was no way anyone was going to believably be ill on that day,
right,
in a way that their employer was going to buy. So he was going to give them the receipts. He can say, "Hey, check this out. I can send you the pictures with today's paper."
Right.
It was, but sorry you missed all those guys on Friday. They're good guys. Lane Johnson.
Yeah.
We got Lane Johnson and Corey Clement in at the end of our show, but J.J. was here.
Right.
Brandon Graham was here.
Malcolm Jenkins was in the building.
He was in the building. So they were all kind of floating around. They were all a little tired, as you could expect, but all very upbeat. It was very cool.
Everyone keeps talking about the Kelsey speech, which obviously is a rant for the ages. Probably, I went back and watched it a few times. The funniest one is about Lane Johnson. Like, he's saying the criticism of each player. He goes, Lane Johnson can't stay off the juice.
Well, Lane was in here with us at the end of the show, and I said, Jason got a little personal. Yeah, it's like, wow, dude. Starting to bring up some of the bad history.
He got further down the list and it started getting like even Brandon Graham. It was like Brandon Graham was drafted too high, and it's like I don't know if I heard I don't know if I heard anyone say that this year. Like, is this Jason's personal record?
Bo Allen doesn't fit our scheme.
Yeah,
wait a minute,
hold up.
who said that?
Right. And then it just became this guy can't catch. He can't cover. Like, all right, now it's just the same thing over and over.
It was the Animal House. He's on a roll. Just let him go. Let him go, man.
Overall, though, would you say, Mike Jr., parades overrated, underrated, or properly rated? Because I got to be honest, I said I could take my son to school. We can drive 4 hours. We can sit in the cold and enjoy it. Or I can just sit on my couch. I'm going to also savor the experience. I was a part of the magic. Great for Cliff to go. I get that. But is it worth this to do in mid-February in Philadelphia?
I think it's properly rated for moments like that where it's first. If you were going to try and sell me on going out to the 5th or 6th Patriots victory parade, I would tell you I'll probably watch that one from the couch. But there are a few experiences, like Cliff said, you're not going to be able to replicate this ever again in Philadelphia for how long they've waited for that first Cubs championship a couple of years ago, for the first time the Sox won the World Series back in the early 2000s. Like, these are all moments I'd probably want to be there around, because at least you're drinking where the action's going to happen. That basically is what it comes down to. A parade is an excuse to drink outdoors.
I agree. It'd be more that first one, because I'm not a real parade guy.
Yeah.
So, but that first one, when you first kind of peel the Band-Aid off, say, okay, we finally got one. I think one of the great moments of that parade was Doug Peterson catching a beer one-handed. I mean, did it so naturally. It was fantastic. Yeah, it's good
By
stuff.
the way, Mike Jr., a similarity that your dad told me that I share with Jerome Brown. You're never going to be able to guess this. Jerome Brown and I both terribly claustrophobic.
Jerome was very claustrophobic.
That's right. Destroyed the MRI machine.
Jerome had to get an MRI, and those MRI tubes can be a little narrow. I'm sure a lot of people have gotten those.
Yeah.
Jerome went for his shoulder, so he had to go in head first. It didn't last long. Did not last long. He needed to get out of that thing before he was going to destroy it. Yeah.
You know, that's the last thing you want is a large defensive tackle banging on what I'd imagine is a near multi-million-dollar piece of equipment.
They were like, get him out of that thing.
Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Insurance. Here's our guest list for today. Buster Olney at 7:30, Dan Dockich at 8:05, Julie Fowley at 8:30, and Amin El-Hassan at 9:05. All phone guests join us at the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. If you miss any of those guests, you can listen to all 4 hours on demand on the ESPN app. Golic and Wingo is presented by Progressive's Home Insurance. Getting a quote is easier than ever. Fly, Eagles, fly. Let's get to the news of the day.
It's time for Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
Well, speaking of those Eagles, now, of course, begins the talent drain. Give me all your guys. The Indianapolis Colts have hired Eagles offensive coordinator Frank Reich to be their head coach. Reich will be the 4th active coach who played quarterback in the NFL. 2 of the other 3, Doug Peterson and Sean Payton Mike, have won the Super Bowl as a coach. Now, listen, we've talked so much about Doug Peterson, the play call, Philly special, all the rest of it, but Frank Reich's the OC. He's the guy when Wentz went down, had to tailor his offense to Nick Foles, and obviously this is going to be predicated on one thing. Can you get Andrew Luck back on track?
I mean, listen, that's the whole thing. And I don't know what assurances you get before you take that job. When you're a first-time head coach, I think you take that job. It's not like, hey, I'm only taking this job if you tell me Andrew Luck's ready to go. I mean, when you're a first-time head coach, you kind of jump at these opportunities, and we know he wasn't the first, probably second or third choice in this thing. He was kind of we're in trouble now. Okay, Frank, hey, you want this job? And I think Frank's kind of an under-the-radar guy. He's going to get his chance here to see what we're going to do with Andrew Luck. Not shocking, but more shocking still the way the Josh McDaniels thing ended up than the fact that Frank Reich is standing there with a paper that showed the date before he signed his thing to make sure, everything was on the up and up.
Well-intentioned by the Colts Twitter account. I give him an A for being aware. I give him about a C for execution because you basically have a couple of guys in really obvious dad garb in the ultimate dad poses trying to execute something that ultimately fell a little bit short, but kudos to them for getting a guy that's willing. I think that's what come out of this with Josh McDaniels is you had a guy that was clearly at the top of most people's list coaching-wise, but that couldn't make up his own mind and wasn't sure he really wanted to be with you. Frank Reich seems like a guy who is going to go there, and I think be willing regardless of the assurances about Andrew Luck, because I don't think we've gotten any more clarity on that. I'm sure behind closed doors they've tried to sell him on that as best he can. But I feel like this is a guy who has to be prepared for the reality that it may be Jacoby Brissett or someone else for the foreseeable future. And to your point, being able to work in an offense where you adjusted with Nick Foles for the time being and help win a Super Bowl, I think that's a feather in your cap going forward to say, okay, I'm used to making do without our main guy. I might have to apply this longer than I'm comfortable with.
You're totally right. His ability to handle adjustments on the fly obviously worked in his favor. But could you imagine, you take the job, you're thinking, I got Luck, here we go.
Oh, yeah.
If you find out we're not going to get the Andrew Luck we thought before, just going to have to make do. That would be crazy.
Off the top.
Selection Sunday is 1 month away. NCAA Men's Tournament Selection Committee. I actually enjoyed this. I know Jay Bill's tweeting his dissatisfaction.
Yeah, he was not happy.
But I think if you're an NFL fan and you haven't followed a whole bunch of college basketball, you turn it on yesterday. Okay, first Sunday without the NFL. Hey, the committee gives us the top 16 teams as it were right now. ACC leads the way. 4 teams in the top 16, including top overall seed Virginia, even though they lost to Virginia Tech. College Game Day was there on Saturday. Cavaliers also number 1, though, according to ESPN's strength of record metric. I was with Seth Greenberg and LaFonso Ellis yesterday on college basketball duty, so of course I got their take right away. Big one, Michigan State, Mike Jr., is a 3 seed, even though they're the number 4 team in the country. They just beat number 3 Purdue on Saturday.
It is wild, and it's wild to, I guess, what that team's been able to accomplish in the wake of everything that's been going on around Michigan State, to see that basketball program still putting together that season and now inviting this controversy the way we see in college football every week once we hit October when these rankings come out. So I'm with you. I enjoyed the discussion and all of this, but that one's certainly a head scratcher.
It is, and I started looking at this, and I read Jay's tweet, and I started going, yeah, this is kind of, and then I thought to myself, okay, the biggest difference of this one and the football one is the football they put out a top 25, but only 4 make it. And they're all playing in the tournament.
Correct.
They're all even though the Michigan State one, and I know seeding can be important now where you're going to go and all that. And the Michigan State one really kind of threw me for a loop. But I thought, okay, this is just now. It's discussion points. All these teams are going to be in, and it's going to flip flop some.
It is amazing, too, that we sit here and usually, and I heard a lot of the criticisms over the weekend when we watch Olympic sports like figure skating, where they're judgment-based and we have judges giving out these scores, and then we get back over here and we forget that every year we've got a very human element picking the biggest tournament in college athletics.
Yep. It's a great point. Seth Greenberg also saying Oklahoma, he thinks a little too high as a 4 seed.
It's Trae Young, man, right?
And that's why I said that's going to be the Trae Young effect. Everyone's watching him, even though they've lost 5 of 6. They have had a good schedule, strength of record.
Off the top.
Mike Jr. mentioned the Olympics. All in here, all right?
Oh, come on.
You and I know you're a big Summer Olympics guy.
I love them
your
both.
daughter Sydney's swimming. I wasn't sure how big in the winter, but now I'm pumped that you're as all into as I am. Good night for the American women in Pyeongchang. Jamie Anderson won gold in snowboarding slopestyle, becoming the first woman to win 2 Olympic snowboarding gold medals. Mirai Nagasu became the first American woman and the 3rd woman from any country. This was unbelievable. A triple axel in the Olympics. As the Americans took bronze in team figure skating, Canada did win gold. And the U.S. now has, it wasn't listed here, but it's
okay, whatever.
Okay. The U.S. has tied for the 5th most. Oh, now alone in 5th in medals. So Norway, the leader. Of course, Olympics going on right now, 14-hour time difference. Although Germany just won a medal, by the way. Yay, Germany. But it's like, you and I made this point. It's like, I don't really care when it's tape delayed, right?
I'd say on my Xfinity Olympic home, and it gives me all the options there, and I just start watching stuff. Don't care if it was taped, live, whatever. It doesn't matter to me.
I knew last night Medsur had won the first American men's luger to get a medal.
How about
I wanted to watch it anyway.
What was,
Koch.
The kid that was a first seed, the guy who was a first seed that blew it going down there. Yeah. We thought our guy was going to end up getting the bronze. He ended up getting the silver. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me when I watch it. We were asked a question. My wife threw this out to our family group. If you could actually try and train for one winter Olympic event, which would it be? And it couldn't be curling because that's too easy.
Yeah,
couldn't be curling.
How do you know it's too easy? See, this is my beef with people in the Olympics.
Curling,
I hear all weekend people trying to make lesser the sports of the Winter Olympics because they're a little bit different. They're a little more marginalized.
Well, I'm not making them lesser, but the biathlon is harder than curling. Okay?
You got to shoot.
You got to go 7.5 kilometers on the skis and stop twice and shoot.
Listen,
if you miss, you got to do a bonus lap.
I saw some of the situations that those curlers were able to maneuver their feet around near the stones by the target. And it is some fancy footwork. I feel like this is going undersold. Okay. And I saw this going around on Twitter. They said what the Winter Olympics really needs is they need an average Joe. They need Rich Eisen running the 40 that he mentioned. He's the everyman that shows us this is how hard and how good these athletes actually are. Send a normal person out before every Winter Olympic event. Watch them fail miserably so the rest of us can realize
I like that idea,
this is not just. I want to find the tweet because this was going around. It was part of a Twitter moment that made the rounds, and I thought it was a great suggestion. You said TJ Quinn, who covers the Olympic for us, even said you could put other professional athletes out there and watch them fail as miserably, and it would make the same point even better.
Yeah, like imagine Larry Fitzgerald, who just won the Pro-Am. Imagine him curling. Because you're like, what?
And he did. He and Trey curled out in Minneapolis.
Are you serious?
Trey and Larry did some curling. Trey said it was harder than it looked, but again, it's Trey. Okay? So I'd imagine Larry did pretty well at it. Listen, I love curling. Yeah. I love it. No. But I'm watching that biathlon. I'm watching these people cross-country ski, have to stop, rest themselves, and shoot. And again, if they miss any of the 5 targets, each miss is a 150-meter penalty lap. I mean, my God, of all the sports out there, when you train for it, there's a good chance you're training so hard you're throwing up. Curling, you're throwing up because you drank too much.
It is definitely a beer sport, but I will agree with Mike Jr. It's harder than one thinks.
I agree with
that.
Right? I agree with that, and I do love watching it.
Right.
It's a lot of that action, although I have to give some brief shine at moment to Adam Rippon, the hero that we all needed last night in the men's figure skating round. Just absolutely electric. Gave a great interview with Tarico after where he shouted out Xannies and drinking. So.
Yeah, that's great stuff right
there.
Probably
not in combination right there. We separate those two, but that idea coupled with some in and out love, and he won the hearts and minds of Americans everywhere.
I agree.
In case you're wondering why I said this, yay Germany. The U.S. was tied with Germany in 4th in the medal count. The Germans just won a medal, so yay Germany. So now the U.S. is alone in 5th, just for context.
Off the top.
The Rockets, by the way, plenty more Winter Olympics talk coming in 15 minutes from now. The Rockets topped the Mavericks 104-97 for their 8th straight win. Houston improved to 6-0 this season with both James Harden and Chris Paul each go for at least 25 points. So Houston now just a half game behind the Warriors for the best record in the NBA. Can we just get to the Western Conference Final?
I'm telling
you. Rockets, Warriors, let's go.
I'm telling you, it is those two, the drop-off after that. Obviously, I like what Minnesota's doing this year in the future of them, where they may build. They're sitting in the 4 slot. I think a lot of people like in the East, Boston, what they're building, but as we're going to get to with Cleveland, they seem to have made all the right moves, as they say, even though Toronto's sitting at the number 1 spot right now. But you're right with Houston. It's not even when Harden and Paul are on this floor at the same time. When they are, great, but when they're not, they can obviously share those minutes or be one at a time on the court and take up a lot of time there. They're looking good. I still don't know if they have enough to beat Golden State in a 7-game series, but man, they're fun to watch. And also, you think about next year, could a big time free agent go to Houston?
Yeah, they start to put themselves in position going forward. Like you said, it's always been about how you're able to manage when your best version of your lineup isn't on the floor, because that's where Golden State's depth shines. The more and more we look at this, the more and more it seems like as people look at this Golden State team, it's going to be about when they implode more so than I think what anyone else does. It's going to be about when greed or luxury tax or repeater tax or any set of circumstances finally drives a wedge in this team, because their collective powers are just too great to think that anyone's going to beat them 4 times out of 7.
I thought 3 more years, counting this year and then 2 more, and then I think you start to see that dissolve somehow, some way. One of the options you had said here, or it just starts to split. But it'd be a heck of a run if it were to go even 2 more years.
No question. We were talking. I was with Russillo talking to Daryl Morey, the Rockets GM, and I said, "How often do you think about the Warriors?" And you figure the typical answer is that, hey, we're just trying to improve our team. And he goes,
no,
all
that's
time,
right?
all we think about.
Yeah,
all
you got to beat them, right? You want to win a championship, you got to beat them.
Yeah, that's 100%. So that is off the top. Let's talk a little more about the NBA stuff. By the way, Golden State half-game lead over the Rockets in the West, so protecting the lead brought to you by ADT. Considering home security, consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. Visit ADT.com to learn more. Adnan Virk in for Trey alongside Mike Golick and Mike Golick Jr. How about the Cavs?
Yeah.
Spoiling Paul Pierce jersey retirement day, $121.99, and the 4 new Cavs, Mike. Jordan Clarkson, George Hill, Larry Nance, Rodney Hood, 49 points. 18 to 35 shooting.
I had not jumped off the wagon. I said last week I was white knuckling. I was white knuckling with this team, and then they made the trade. I was still hanging in there. Man, they look good. They now it's the newness. I get all that. It's still they're getting used to one another.
Don't hedge it.
But they are back. They are winning the East and then losing in the finals. But they are winning the East. They are getting out of the East right now.
Vegas is with you, by the way. Saw that line move pretty drastically through the body of just this one game alone.
It was neck and neck with the Raptors, and now they're 10-11 favorites.
Exactly. It's gone above and beyond. So I thought of you this morning. I said, Dad, holding on for dear life on nothing but Homer Love finally gets his comeuppance because that team, they looked incredible. The Celtics didn't look like they belonged on the same court with a Cleveland team that was still learning each other's names, let alone where they were going to spot up on the floor.
And the Celtics decided to make yesterday a three-point shooting contest. 38 threes. 38 threes. That was just unbelievable. They were just launching them up there. Made everybody have to hang around, all the fans, because it was a destruction for the Paul Pierce jersey retirement and going up into the rafters. Which
is still going, by the way. That was unbelievable.
It's a long
2-hour jersey retirement ceremony.
But listen, they look good. You know, what can you say? Those guys fit in well. Each will find their role more during this. They look good. And Boston, you know, everybody thought they're the team. Your Toronto Raptors.
Looking great. Raptors,
they are
Cavs,
looking great. And they'll eventually lose to Cleveland because that's just what happens.
Playoff underachiever, the Raptors. They're trying to get over their own hurdles. But obviously, young core. They got a great bench now to solidify Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan. But for Cleveland, it was like, talk about the right influx of talent. Like in the past, it's always these veterans who are a little bit aged. Like Kyle Korver knows his role, spot-up shooter. Like Nance, Clarkson, these guys can run, man. Open floor, transition. They're coming from the Western Conference where the offense is a little more wide open. Like it was, you could feel that jolt immediately. And for Boston to get dummied like that in their home court, I mean, I hear that term all the time, statement wins, but that clearly was a statement.
That was.
You have to think in an honest moment, maybe Paul Pierce wishes they would have just let IT have that little video, and maybe it doesn't start this whole cascade into madness that ends with his team getting dummied on their home court.
What needs to happen is every time IT is supposed to go back to Boston, he gets traded again, so he never makes it back there for his video.
I mean, the fact, Isaiah, 5 teams that guy's played for.
Yeah.
I mean, relatively young player.
He went from a guy thinking he's maxing this summer to, I mean, there's just no
Lakers
shot of that.
off the bench.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. All right, Golick and Wingo presented by Progressive Home Insurance. Progressive Home Insurance. Getting a quote is easier than ever. Coming up next, you'll hear LeBron's thoughts on his new teammates. Plus, we'll tell you what made a father happier than his son winning a gold medal.
Hey everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for the Golick Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Hello, I'd like to deposit this to checking.
Fate is a fickle master.
What?
The future is uncertain.
Okay, and what's my account balance?
The horizon is cloudy. I see a long, treacherous voyage filled with great peril.
Look, can I just get a deposit slip or something?
A Fortune bank teller. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I see a yellow-eyed serpent and a low APR.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
We were talking about the Cavs, gentlemen. So let's hear from LeBron James after all those players I mentioned, the 4 new Cavs, Jordan Clarkson, George Hill, Larry Nance, Rodney Hood, combined for 49 points, 18 of 35 shooting. They bludgeoned the Boston Celtics. Here is what LeBron James had to say about the win afterwards.
But it's a good start, you know. Man, it's almost like the new guys have been here. You know, started with George and, you know, his on-the-ball pressure and, you know, him just running the team. And then the 3 guys came off the bench. You know, Jordan is you know, he's ready to score at any point in time, but his composure was great. Rodney plays with so much poise, and And Larry was just controlling the perimeter, saying great pick and rolls, got him a lob, got him a dunk. So it was a good start for the new guys, good start for all of us, with our revamped team so far.
Yeah, you think? Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't. They destroyed one of the best defensive team in the league. What are they? 1 or 2?
I think they're one.
Number one. They just got destroyed. The one thing you can't expect. All of a sudden, J.R. Smith found his shot. And he'd been shooting horrible all year. He goes 6 of 7, 3 of 4 from 3-point land. Mm-hmm. George Hill's 2 of 4 from. I'm sorry, he was 2 of 4. Jordan Clarkson's 3 of 4. Rodney Hood's 3 of 6. I mean, they're just not going to shoot that great in the 3-point land from 3-point land the entire time. But it was a nice meshing the first time around for what each guy is going to offer. And then you remember there's no Kevin Love yet back, from the broken hand.
That's setting up, by the way, for Kevin Love to be the scapegoat for anything that goes wrong. This is real. I feel for the guy because I know exactly what freight train is coming for him. But Listen, that's how the Cavaliers have won in recent history. They've become, like the Golden State Warriors, like the Houston Rockets, a 3-point shooting team, a team that's going to flip the math on you. And I think seeing guys like Tristan Thompson, like J.R. Smith get re-energized as much as LeBron James was big for last night, seeing those guys be more of who we saw in the past is going to be a huge reason for this team because I don't know these guys' relationships enough to say, well, they like playing with each other enough, but they at least don't hate playing with each other the way they clearly did with that last team.
Right.
Where it looks like there's just a grimace the entire time. Like it pains me to have to play with this guy. So frustrating. So good news for the Cavs. All right, now to the news of the day. We cannot talk enough Winter Olympics. Yeah. That's really what we're fired up about.
Pyeongchang. Touchdowner.
Right. By the way, speaking of just the early morning etiquette here. So I didn't have a chance to order my own breakfast. So well, just grab whatever Wingo eats, which is great. I got eggs, spinach, you get some cheese.
Sure.
Also, my guy goes Coke Zero at
6:30
a.m.
That's how he rolls. That was Bob Picozzi did that all the time for years with Mike and Mike.
And Picozzi was not Coke Zero. That had to be
that was the good stuff. Yeah, that was good old fashioned cane sugar.
And Mike Jr. goes Muscle Milk at 6:30 a.m. Now, in fairness, you've been on the air already for 2 hours.
Yeah, no, it's already. This is basically like lunchtime for me at this point. There's a whole lot of weird going on around here right now. So we've got Coke Zero and Muscle Milk. Yeah. I look over on the screen during the Sports Center update, and my dad's got college wrestling streaming on YouTube right now.
Kyle Snyder lost.
That's what he looks at. I look at him during the Sports Center update, and I say, Dad, what the hell are you watching right now? And that's exactly what he said. He goes, Kyle Snyder lost.
Kyle Snyder hasn't lost in collegiate wrestling since 2015, the finals of his freshman year at 197. He lost to this kid, Adam Kuhn, the wrestler from Michigan heavyweight. I mean, and listen, someone just tweeted me, what do you think of Kyle Snyder's loss? I mean, what do you want me to think? I mean, sometimes you don't wrestle as well as you want, or the other guy wrestles better, you know? So yeah, I was watching to see how Adam beat Snyder, but that's an impressive win. If a guy doesn't lose for 3 years, you're not telling me that's impressive that a guy beats him and that's not worthy of watching. And you know how much I love wrestling.
I do know how much you love wrestling, but I also know what we were getting ready to talk about, and it wasn't that.
Yeah, we have sound here from Snyder.
I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah, so that's
oh my God. That's what my God. I'm going to punch both of you. I'm going to punch both of you guys tonight.
Let's talk Winter Olympics here.
Oh my God.
Now, Mike threw this out to me. What's the sport you most want to do? And honestly, you didn't know this about me. I love the ski jumping.
I know you love the ski.
I can't get enough of it. Honestly, are you kidding? I watched 2 hours of ski jumping. She goes, this gets pretty monotonous quickly. I go, no, it doesn't. The phenomenal form, the flying V. Norway always crushed.
Listen, Adnan was glued to Eddie the Eagle when it came out, front and center.
How could you not be? Yeah, certainly better in shape of one. We'll get into. But,
should have followed you coming later.
I like watching this ski. Elena Deladon tweeted out. I loved her tweet. She said, "What are the?" I forgot what she called them. The plants coming out of the ground at the bottom. And I I said a couple of things. I said for depth perception to land, and I said or to soften the blow when I crash into it. Because if I were to ever do a ski
you're right.
jump.
They sit on the broadcast. That's for depth perception. Otherwise,
the pineapple tops. That's what she said.
It's just a sea of white. Yeah, where the hell am I? Like actually, it does come in handy.
Exactly. I love watching the ski jump. If you said I could only watch one event though. For me, outside of curling, which I think is everybody's
doing
favorite.
or watching?
Watching.
Okay.
Watching.
No, let's go doing first.
Yeah.
Well, all right. If we again, my wife threw this tweet out to the text out to the family. Can't be curling because we could all kind of do curling. We could all do curling without any real fear of injury.
For nothing sounds like a fun afternoon show activity.
It really does, and there's really no fear of getting injured.
No,
okay,
exactly.
So what would I actually be able to do?
Yeah.
It would probably be the biathlon, just because I could go as slow as I wanted to. I mean, it's not like I can do downhill skiing and really go slow. Once I start, gravity takes care of
If you
that.
French fry when you're supposed to pizza, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, there you go. So probably the biathlon, which is a long cross-country ski, and then they stop and shoot. Let me tell you, I was mesmerized at that. Because, again, if you miss any of the 5 shots, you're doing a 150-meter penalty lap for each miss. I mean, that's damning, man. But at
so
least
biathlon you could do. What would you want to? Obviously, I could not.
I would want to do downhill.
Yeah.
I would want to do downhill. I love the downhill. I'm watching the downhill. They're going over 60 miles an hour. The losers are going over 80 miles an hour. It's ridiculous.
The skeleton? Oh.
I mean, my God. Yeah, when you're going head first.
The skeleton brutal. Because to me, the luge you had for like 80 years, and they go, hey, what if you went head first? We'll call it the skeleton.
Yeah, because that's what you're going to turn into when you crash.
Yeah.
That's all that's going to be left as your skin is scraped off your body.
Right. For you, Mike, what's the one that you'd like to do, and what's the one you can most realistically do?
The one I could most realistically do is probably going to fall into like into the curve. I would want to do. No, that's the one I'd want to do. I want to figure skate. I want to be able to give people this beautiful piece of performance art. I want the leotard with the spark. Adam Rippon had an unbelievable top, sparkles everywhere, looked incredible. The flexibility. I tell you what. I can't skate worth a lick. I promise you the sassiest arm movements that you've ever seen. Right. Because you get that dance portion of it where you kind of get to let go. That's where I would shine. Creativity, effort, and energy.
The key, what would your song be?
Yes.
The Pokemon theme song.
The Pokemon theme song.
Devin is a fan of that one. The Pokemon theme.
Anyone like of a certain age, like around their like early 30s and below, is going to know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And if you tell me I can get like an Ash Ketchum themed outfit and maybe a couple of Pokeball props out on the ice, and I think I can win you over with the theatricality.
I don't think you can get props on the ice.
Just to put this into perspective, the Italian dance team was dancing to Nino Rota, who's a famous Italian composer. The Canadian figure skater was dancing to Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue.
Of course.
And you'd go Pokemon.
Yeah.
Listen, if I'm going to be the brutish American out there tattooed and bearded on the ice, I'm going to lean all the way into it and go full Pokemon.
You might as well go Hell's Bells at that point. Just go
I saw someone suggest raining blood by at some point you go all the way in the opposite direction, or you just go with what you know. I choose that.
Honestly, yay, Germany. That's what I'm thinking about here.
So you would be ski jumping.
Ski jumping is the one, but you're right. I'd have to learn how to do it. I mean, imagine the training for ski jumping. Imagine training Mike at 4 years old.
I imagine the red splot that would be if you ski jumped. Of just him hitting the ice and bleeding all over it.
You wouldn't need to see the pineapple tops. No. You would just see the blood splat where Ed hits.
That's fear when I would go down that first slide. Like, oh my God.
That takeoff moment, though, would be worth all of it right there, right?
The flying V would be unbelievable.
But I mean, the Winter Olympics, I mean, those events are they're dangerous ones, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, with the speed involved in these things.
What about bobsleigh? Like bobsleigh, maybe we could do that without dying?
At least you have a cover around you when you're in the bobsled. You know, the luge and skeleton, man, you fall, you're flailing down that chute.
Help me out here. 4-man bobsleigh. One guy drives, one guy is steering. What do the other two guys do?
Isn't one a brakeman? Isn't there a brakeman?
So there's a brakeman, there's a guy steering. The other two are along for the ride.
Dead weight, which I think we would do really well with.
We would be the dead weight middle guys.
We're making sure this thing doesn't go careening off the track.
The Golics coming soon to a 4-man bobsleigh near you.
Awesome.
Tweet us right now at Mike and Mike. Let us know what Winter Olympic sport you would most like to do and which. Oh, excuse me. There's the. I got to pay a fine. Tweet us
at Golic and Wingo.
At Golic and Wingo.
Or at Golic and Wingo.
This is the first fine of the day. Go ahead. I got $1.
No, it's the fines are $100.
Oh no, God! Jeez. Tweet us Golic and Wingo and let us know which Winter Olympic sport you would most like to do and which one you think you could actually do.
Right.
Coming up next, we'll tell you what made a father happier than his son winning a gold medal. Plus, Frank Reich is a new Colts head coach. Can you name the last Super Bowl winning OC that became the coach of a different team the next season? Red Gerard. How about this?
Yeah.
Jeff Passon tweeted this. Red Gerard grew up in Cleveland. His dad, Conrad, was wearing a brown stocking cap. And while he was ecstatic his son won a gold medal, he was the United States Olympic snowboarder, originally from Rocky River, Ohio. The happiest I saw him was when someone showed him that Bernie Kosar had tweeted about Red. Right. Bernie Kosar, he said, holy blank. Yeah. That's how excited he was.
The dad was more excited about the tweet from Bernie Kosar than his kid winning the gold. Right. That kid was so stunned he won a gold medal. Stunned. Didn't even think he would be there to do that, and ends up winning the gold medal. And as we said, has no idea what the 90s are like because he was born in 2000?
Born in 2000. Unreal. Yeah, looks like if you told him that he looked like McLovin, he would have no idea what that reference was.
No clue at all.
He'd be looking at you like, what is that movie on VHS? Even that, he'd be asking if it was on Blu-ray. Yeah, that's his antiquated technology.
Unreal. First gold, though. Good job out of him.
His family just chugging Natty Lights in the crowd, too. They were shotgunning beers at 8:30 in the morning before he was getting ready to go.
Is that? I mean, that's just going there and loving life, man. I mean, that's just fantastic.
Listen, milk the moment. It is what it is. Bernie Kosar's tweeting you. Let's get after it.
They didn't milk the moment. They beard the moment.
Yeah, thank you very much.
They shotgun the moment.
That was our...
Pyeongchang.
Yeah, that's our Olympic update. Straight Talk Wireless nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Adnan Virk in for Trey Wingo today. We are Golic and Wingo. And we got to talk about Frank Reich. He's the new head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. And this is where the talent drain begins, of course, for Philadelphia. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. I'm doing that twice. So Frank Reich is the Indianapolis Colts head coach. And the whole key here is this, Mike. Can he get Andrew Luck? Can he solve the riddle? Can he solve the enigma of Andrew Luck? Is he hurt? Is he not hurt? Is it in his head? Jim Irsay thinks it is. Can he get back to being the guy he once was? That's what all this is about, right? You're going to get your quarterback back on track. Let's hire an OC.
Well, listen, while I agree with that, and that's going to be the focus of can he get Andrew Luck right, because Andrew Luck right with all of his injuries. But to me, I mean, that cupboard was left bare. Ryan Grigson, I mean, just what can you say? He failed as a GM there and left them basically, I don't want to say talentless and say there's no other talent on that team. That would be kind of a slap in the face to everybody on that team. But man, they are hurting with talent around them. The amount of old linemen they have gone through, let alone, receivers. And last time they had a running back, you played with no face masks in the league. I mean, it's been a joke of how long that's been. So they have had horrible talent around him. So it's one thing to get Andrew Luck going, but it's another thing. Frank needs more weapons. Offensively, defensively, he needs a better team around Andrew Luck.
Well, because so much of the conversation around Andrew Luck was, they failed to protect him. Well, they failed to protect Jacoby Brissett last year, too. And for a guy that was mobile and found his way, admittedly, into some of those sacks, he was still the most sacked quarterback in football by, I think, double digits over the next closest guy involved in that. So that's an area where they still need a lot of help. They drafted Ryan Kelly, who was in and out of the lineup for a bit with injury, especially at the beginning of the season last year. But I have to wonder if a guy like Frank Reich comes over and if there were factions of coaches that they looked at in this process, because clearly Josh McDaniels didn't work out for a number of reasons, but you wonder what each coach was looking for in there and how many of those coaches are scared off by the idea that Andrew Luck is not a certainty going forward. And at the very least with Frank Reich, he's saying, I'm comfortable with this job no matter what. I was going to be one of those guys that looked at this situation and said, I don't need to know for sure that Andrew Luck is going to come back for me to take this job. I understand it's one of 32 positions. I'm used to making chicken salad out of sometimes you know what.
Yeah.
And I think that going forward in this situation, combined with, new GM and a new attitude and how we bring in talent, I'm comfortable with where we can go forward with or without what was supposed to be a franchise-altering player.
Here's a question for you guys. Can you name the last Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator that became the head coach of a different team?
Ooh. The last one.
The last
wait, a coordinator?
College or pro?
Pro.
Super Bowl
Wait, that one is a coordinator.
Offensive coordinator and then became a head coach.
And then became
with another team.
Well, Dan Quinn?
Mm-mm.
I mean, you're saying offensive coordinator.
Offensive coordinator then becomes a Super Bowl, a head coach after winning the Super Bowl.
A head coach. I asked a head coach also in the NFL because Charlie Weiss and the Patriots won the Super Bowl in 2004, and then him and Romeo Crennel both went their separate ways. Charlie to the Notre Dame head coaching job.
Mike Shanahan. 94 49ers and then 95 Broncos.
Okay. Wow.
Mostly been
D coordinators, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn, right.
Straight
Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage in America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Coming up next, pitchers and catchers due to report this week, but why are there so many free agents? And Yu Darvish going to the Chicago Cubs. Our man Buster Olney will break it down. That's right. At Nick Burke and Portray. It's Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN 2.